Trade Genius.
What's up, guys? Philip at Trade Genius. All right, we're going to take a look at Bitcoin and see what the current price action is telling us. We're going to look at the daily chart, weekly chart. We'll also take a look at the heat map, see what the futures delta is telling us. We're going to take a look at the internals. There's a game being played here with this internal stuff. I'm going to show you what that is. We're also going to look at the meme chart and see what that is telling us. We're going to look at the alt market too and dominance because that's going to be a big key as to where this goes. We'll also take a look at the GBTC premium and talk about how that's been doing since that VanEck competing fund has opened. Also, we'll take a look at the Bitcoin futures and talk about those 50% levels and see what that's looking like. And again, guys, we're running a special. Just a reminder, fall 40% off. You can get our Moneymaker Signal software or join us in the room with the bundle. And, guys are having a lot of success. This is our gain loss for the year, 538% plus on crypto. And also, here's an example of the room. This guy breached 20K mark for the year, mostly just doing the binary options, which I hardly talked to you guys about. I will cover that in the next video a little bit more. But, guys having, 8% day there. So, a lot of things happening in the room too. So I encourage you guys to join us if you can. I think you'll really, really like it. All right, guys, let's dive into this video and check it out.
Trade Genius.
Okay, guys, weekly chart. As you can see, the stochastics are really coming down, and I really get excited, especially on the weekly, when I see this getting down near the 20 mark or lower. These produce big moves and even bigger moves when we're in a bull market. Last time we crossed down here was at the bottom of the bear market. That was literally, if you bought that cross, you just about caught the bottom of the bear market, and that's where price started making a lower high and then off to the races. So if you got in on this weekly cross, that was just a huge area to buy for long term. So that was great. Then you have this cross here, again, not in the oversold area that we like it. Also, as far as the post-halving cycle, not an ideal spot for it. So that really didn't amount to anything. This cross, this was in the oversold area, and this cross was into this bounce. So that had, by the time you crossed here, you had one red bar and then a bounce, okay? So we do like to see confirmation on the cross taking out the prior week's high. And then before that, obviously, you had this one back in September 16. If I showed you the chart there, that was basically from that cross up. September 16, if you recall, was post-halving. If we look pre-halving, where we were like now, you actually had a cross here. So all of this into the halving and post-halving, those weekly dips are just huge, huge entry points, and that's where we're at. So very bullish in that regard. If we look at the daily, we'll just drill down to, what are we looking at here? So as we'll talk about a little bit more in the video, in this consolidation, where we are in terms of the halving cycle, this is to be expected. It will be nice to see that this daily crosses in conjunction with the weekly cross, and I think that would be a pretty powerful signal. I do expect there to be a lot of games being played right now because there's consolidation, and I think there's probably people waiting. I think there's some accumulating going on, but people are waiting for the breakout. I think if this breaks to the downside, there's going to be a lot of buys that come in here, and I think any trip to the downside would be brief. It would be like a head fake and then back up, because I think the technicals and the halving cycle timing are just too powerful at this point. So that's on the daily, looking at a cross up. A lot of people still clamoring for the 8505 spot on the futures to get closed. That's the gap that's currently open. But I will remind you that gaps do not have to close. Most people will tell you all gaps close, and that's true. But there's several gaps on the S&P 500 right now that are very, very old and haven't closed yet. So we could easily not close that and move higher, okay? And also, we'll look at that a little bit more as we get into this. This is the heat map. So basically, if you are seeing that purplish color, you're wanting to be long, and if you're seeing the reddish color, you want to be short. We are really choppy here, so when we get like this, what I do is I kind of just, even though we're showing short, I think mostly what you're going to be concerned with is the highs and lows of the contracting range, or that triangle that we were just looking at. So here, until we break out, and then you can kind of follow the trend indications beyond that. The delta, this is the futures delta, it's diving down. Okay, so if this thing dips down towards zero and price hasn't, I would expect another BART move down and taking out this low, because typically what you'll see is if delta is moving up, then price should also make higher highs with that, or vice versa. If it's moving down, make lower lows. And so far it has. Here's a lower low, here's another lower low, and delta has been confirming that. So if we see basically this area here of support get taken out and we hit this delta zero, which we got here and also back here, and these are big time areas for nice swing bounces, and then that comes off of like a head fake and you get like a swing failure pattern, that's going to be extremely bullish. Okay, so that's what I'm reading on the delta right now. If we look at the internals, so what this is the BitMEX funding. So what people are paying to be long or short. If bars are above zero, then people are paying to be long. They're, so the crowd's net long, and vice versa. If the bars are below zero, pointing down, then people are net short. So what you'll notice is when the crowd's net short, what happens? We slowly start making higher highs. Then we break out and capitulate all these guys, and now they flip long. They flip long, okay, which lasted. They were right for a couple of impulse moves, and then on this high here, it flushes them out. Okay, then what happens is all these guys get stopped out, and the funding goes flat. Then what happens? Funding stays positive though, positive. And what do? We don't make higher highs. We're making lower lows. So when we get into these consolidation phases, a lot of times what will happen is if you look at what the funding's doing, those guys will get faded, or the move will be opposite of where the net funding or net positioning of the crowd is. When we're in a full bull or bear market, then these guys will be correct. But when you're in a consolidating environment, you're basically going to see liquidations on the opposite side of this positioning, and that's what we're seeing. So here, finally, this position held long, net long. They get flushed. What do? They flip short. They get flushed back to the other side. They flip long. So what do you think here? Yeah, a quick trip down. Now I don't think that's going to be bearish. I just think that's within this parameter of our consolidation range and just games to be played. So I do think it would be risky to be long here. This could easily do one of these flush moves, grab more liquidity as guys get positioned, big players get positioned longer. Also, too, our volatility is dipping back below that 1.9 line, and that's where we see some of these bigger moves come from. So keep that in mind. This is the B-vol indicator. Okay, meme chart. What is this? This basically is showing us similar patterns to the same spot we were back as we exited 2015 into 2016. So some of these peaks have lined up. We got another peak here supposedly on October 12th if the ratio maintains 2-to-1, and we would start that move sometime toward the end of the month. If anything, again, I am biased to us breaking out and up. Okay, if we look at the dominance, what you're going to find here is dominance is getting ready to turn up. Now, the difference between this cross on the stochastic RSI like we had here and here is that our main Stoch line is actually down. Okay, so that means trend is really down. So, but what can happen, and if both of these turn up and stochastic turns up on the daily, this can be an extremely powerful move back to the prior highs that we were from, and the alts are going to get crushed. If the stochastic line stays down and only the Stoch RSI bounces, what will happen is a smaller move up, and we're going to see that thing come back down, and alts are going to be in a better shape. So we got to keep an eye on this. It would be risky though, because we don't know how this is going to react. This could easily pump up, especially if there's a breakout in Bitcoin. This will jump up. Alts are going to get smacked again. We're also in this area of resistance with the alt cap. Okay, well, this is actually alts versus BTC. So this is a value thing, and this is an area of resistance. You see it ran right up into it and bounced off of it. So 4-hour charts right now, here Friday night, things are looking bullish on the 4-hour, so we can probably get some decent little pops over the weekend. You can see that on both the others/BTC and total 2/BTC. So this is all the alts versus Bitcoin, and then this is all of the alts less the top 15. Okay, so both look very similar, but they're at odds with the daily of the dominance. The dominance will always do the opposite for the alt cap. So you can see alts are fighting here, but daily is looking to pop up. So this is actually bearish for alts, bullish for Bitcoin. but we are bullish alts on the smaller time frame at 4 hours. So a little bit at odds here, okay? But that does allow you to get some smaller swing trades in before this thing confirms up. So just be on guard, and you need tight stops if you're swinging alts versus BTC. So if we look at the GBTC chart, this dip here, which we had not really seen a dip this low since the bull broke out of the 4K range, was, I believe, due to the fact that the Van Eck fund opened and you could have had some money leaving. And so we did get a lower than usual dip in this cycle. It has since risen, and we've done a couple of trades in here in this range, but we're still trying to figure out what's the new low to high with Van Eck competing. And a lot of times these will respect prior support and resistance levels. So we are at some premium resistance here. And so we'll see how this shapes up. We'll do another update earlier in the week, next week. But right now, I thought things looked like, for now, just to be flat in GBTC and see how this plays out a little bit from here. Because we need to just see what the post-Van Eck competition range is going to be like. So that's what we're looking at there. All right, and then the Bitcoin futures, again, we've been stuck between these two ranges. Again, we've been plotting the 50% areas, lines between gaps, and those seem to be pretty decent as far as anchoring price. And then we also have this one large 50% from, this is both current open gaps, and you notice we're just kind of hugging that. We're hugging right between those open gaps. So 50% on gaps is a very, you should understand where those levels are at, because price likes to respect them. Again, down to this 85.15 level is what everyone's anticipating would happen. I think people think there's going to be a head fake all the way down there. What would be really perplexing for a lot of people is if we just consolidate out of here and then take off and never come back. That would really bug a lot of people out, I think. Just be prepared that this does not have to fill. That being said, a dip down here could happen. I'm not saying it won't. I'm just saying a lot of the technical indications are voting up. But this certainly could happen. And I would actually add, if it does happen, expect to see even more downside, like low 8s, high 7s. And that wouldn't be bad at all. There would be nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with that. None whatsoever. Okay? So just keep that in mind. Now that being said, if we jump to a 3-day chart, there's no gap there. A lot of the more powerful gaps will be visible on a daily, 2-day, 3-day chart. Even if we look at a 2-day chart, no gap, but we do see it on the 1-day chart. All right, guys, well, that's going to do it for this update. Just want to give you guys a quick update for the week as we go into the weekend. I think weekend's going to be choppy. I think we're going to see some spiky moves. You might see a lot of wicks. So just, but I think this range holds until at least Monday. And then I think we're coming into some really interesting times here toward the end of September. So I think buckle up for that. We'll do another update earlier in the week next week and evaluate things from there. All right, guys, that's it for this video. I appreciate you guys watching. Please hit like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. I will see you guys on the next video. Take care. Bye.
Trade Genius.